All right, welcome back to the Patrick Reagan Show. Heaven's missing an angel, and he's sitting behind the microphone. It's not this one. Anyway, all right. I've talked about this on my radio show before, but it's been a little while. And in fact, it was when I was on the other radio station, the one that's playing music now. A lot has changed since then, but a lot has stayed the same. And one of the things that really hasn't changed is this very real sense of frustration among the American people, which leads me to the subject of this segment. I get this question a lot when I'm out running around and bump into listeners of the show, and I also receive lots of emails about it as well. And the question I get is, Patrick, should I just give up? Now, look, I know the disappointment. I know the feeling of defeat, even the outright resentment and hostility towards what is happening to our country. One of the things I often read about is people who advocate moving out of the country, moving to a country that is, quote, more individual freedom friendly, unquote. And yes, that country often is more free than our country's becoming. But I'm not a big proponent of that type of thing. You know, I tell these people, look, let's take our country back from these people. I'm too much of a fighter to allow a minority of people, and it is definitely a minority, but I'm not going to allow this small number of people try to ruin this country and everything it was built on. No, I say, forget it. I'm not going to let you run this country into the ground. I'm not going to let you take what is a great country and reduce it to a pile of socialist rubble. This isn't going to be another Soviet Union, a socialist experiment that didn't work out, or another country whose time has passed, a once great country that is now consigned to the ash heap of former civilizations. I'm not going to stand by while a bunch of liberals and nosy busybodies take this once proud and independent population and grind them into the dirt under the bulldozer of oppressive government. It's not going to happen on my watch. And that's what this time is. It's my watch, really our watch. We are responsible for keeping this government in control. We are responsible for rolling back its intrusiveness. We are the ones in charge of making sure we pass to the next generation a country that has its debt under control, a country that isn't spying on its citizens and everyone else in the world for that matter, a country that keeps its nose out of everyone's business, inside the country as well as out, a country that doesn't send its military around the world to babysit other governments until they can get their houses in order. Sorry, that's not our problem. This is our responsibility now, and we're dropping the ball. We can't be like this administration and blame everything on the prior generations. Yes, the government got out of hand during these past generations' watch, and they didn't do a whole lot to scale it back, but that's all water under the bridge. It's time for us to grab the horns of these problems and correct them. Do the things that need to be done, because these problems aren't going away, no matter how much you wish they would, no matter how much you try to ignore them. We have to fix this government. We have to vote in the people who are going to make the changes needed and then hold them to account. Make sure they do what we elected them to government to do. This is going to have to happen at all levels of government, not just Washington, but also state and local governments as well. We have to put them on notice that changes are coming. And if you think all this is going to happen overnight, well, here's a clip from President Ronald Reagan's inaugural speech. I've played this before, but here's a clip from his speech in 1981.
Progress may be slow, measured in inches and feet, not miles, but we will progress.
Now, in case you haven't heard that whole speech and are wondering, progress against what, here's another quick clip when he talks about it.
It is no coincidence that our present troubles parallel and are proportionate to the intervention and intrusion in our lives that result from unnecessary and excessive growth of government.
You know, that's just such a fantastic speech. While we're on that, here's one more clip real quick I want to play. It's just, the whole speech is good.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. From time to time, we've been tempted to believe that society has become too complex to be managed by self-rule, that government by an elite group is superior to government for, by, and of the people. Well, if no one among us is capable of governing himself, then who among us has the capacity to govern someone else?
Yes, that whole speech is almost right out of the libertarian playbook. I know Ronald Reagan didn't govern like a libertarian, but I think his ideas were libertarian in nature. The people surrounding him didn't buy into that theme either. I did a whole segment on this show on that speech, and it's on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Patrick Reagan Show. Just scroll back to the February 10th show of this year, February 10th, and play the segment entitled Ronald Reagan's Inaugural Address. What you'll hear is even back then, the battle to restrain government was being fought. Unfortunately, the government has been winning and will continue to win if we don't do something about it, which means we have to keep fighting. So, no, I'm not giving up this country to a bunch of idiots and ne'er-do-wells. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve the beauty that is the United States of America. It isn't going to happen, so you might as well give up. There are many more of us than there are of you. If anyone is going to leave this country because they don't like it, it's going to have to be you liberals and you government knows best people. I'm frankly getting sick of reading about people advocating we abandon ship, that we get out while the getting's good. Nope, sorry. If you leave this country because you don't like the direction it's going, then you're a quitter. So good riddance. We don't need you anyway because we can't count on you in a fight. You're going to turn tail and run. Oh, sure, when me and all the other people who are willing to fight for this country, once we get it turned around, these people saying to flee the country will be the first ones to move back and enjoy the changes that we brought about. You know, that's fine. I can live with that. Same thing happened after the Revolutionary War. Not everyone fought to defeat the British. In fact, quite a few people fought against this country or didn't lift a finger to help. But after the war, boy, they sure were glad we won. They were more than eager to participate in this new country, and that's fine. Getting our government free again is the important goal, the mission with which we are tasked. Once we get this government reined in, we'll have tons of people who all of a sudden were behind us all along. They just couldn't say anything at the time for some flimsy reason or another, but we'll all be that much more free, and that's the objective. You see, what we're living with right now is the hangover of the government-centric party this country has been living in for the past 80 years or so. The government can fix everything. Government is a cure-all. What we saw in the 20th century was government becoming the answer for all of our country's problems when it really wasn't. All the government did was amplify the problems they're trying to solve. Just look at our current status, spending through the roof. We've sent our military all over this globe. And we're still out there with over 700 bases all over this earth. We've wasted billions and billions of dollars trying to cure poverty when you can't cure poverty. It's just not going to happen. There are always going to be people who fall through the cracks, either because of their destructive personal habits or some unfortunate event in their lives. The best we can do is lend a helping hand through private charity to help them out. You may ask, why private charity? Well, if you're asking that question, then you need to listen to this show more often. If you want to jumpstart, again, go to the show archives, youtube.com/Patrick Reagan Show. Go to those archives and start listening to the past shows. You might even want to take notes. Yes, notes, because these shows and this show is crammed full of logical and reasoned solutions to this country's problems. These solutions that are based in individual freedom and liberty. All right, we're up on the last break here on the Patrick Reagan Show already. Flying through this hour. When we come back, we'll see what we can cram into that last segment. It'll probably be short. So stick with us. We'll be back in about a minute or so here on the Patrick Reagan Show.